know my intuition. I got bars and ink, but never in a prison. Too far gone, never gonna sit and listen. This is optimism mixed with the best. You get it? What you're seeing is a beast in the flesh. I'm betting up.
Funny, independent people.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's move on. Let's get this started.
Well, we're actually live. I just figured I would fuck around for a minute and whatnot and just leave you guys, let you talk.
Good. So,
hey,
folks.
No, I'm actually going to play the intro, folks. Don't worry. I just want to let Andres wax Philip's follicle real quick, and all that.
No, we don't need
intro. Episode 3 to review for y'all of that.
No. How about this? Episode 3 is great.
Andres, why don't you sing an intro for us? Sing us the Star Wars intro. Oh, look at that. Saved by the Bell. The veteran content creator and co-host of the MCU'S Bleeding Edge channel and podcast, Cyberneticshark, is on time, folks. Just to be clear, because he is a veteran content creator. So those type of motherfuckers, you gotta just let them come on right at the exact minute that you're gonna do the show. Because they're pros. So right, Cyber?
Right.
There you go, see? What's up, Cyber?
Not much.
Anyways, folks. Jeff S, aka TrueKnowledge, the other co-host of the MCU'S Bleeding Edge YouTube channel podcast, here to rock a review of the Event Horizon 1997 fucking dope-ass sci-fi horror film, which I believe is the app of, like, how I would describe it or whatnot, but I'll pull up the actual description here in just a second. We were supposed to have Allan and Matt from the Buckley Collective podcast on, and unfortunately, Matt reached out and said that he couldn't make it, but he'd be in the comment section. But we lost Allan. I guess he had another, attack by the Prings. Were trying to steal his cat food, Cyber. And he's probably fighting off Prings right now. So he couldn't make it. So guess what, brother? The day before my birthday, we get to rock out an Horizon review together as brothers.
Oh, fun.
Isn't that come on. Give me some I need to give me some more pizzazz here with that. I need some better energy. Woohoo! There we go, fam. We're not afraid to fake it over here, folks, at the MCU'S Bleeding Edge channel podcast. We'll phone it in if we have to. But only when we have to. I promise. And only on Friday nights. But anyways, Cyber. No, Cyber, in all compliments to you, I think that it's fun to review a film once in a while, just the two of us. Although I love having people on the show and whatnot, everything, when we cover the episodical TV shows, the movies are different for me a little bit and whatnot, everything. It's different for like an MCU film. Cyber did a good job. He killed it moderating the first half of Infinity War review that we did on Friday, or excuse me, on Wednesday. With part 2, I get to sit in the big chair next Wednesday, and I think we'll flip that around so that I start off Endgame. It's only fair, and we'll figure out our rotation to where Cyber can finish up Endgame. That's the best part of the film. You know what I'm saying? So it's only fair. I get the end of Infinity War. That's a dope ass film. Cyber should get the end of Endgame and the final battle, and the all girl team up at the end and whatnot, so he can espouse his thoughts on that whole deal. The She Avengers team there. But folks, we really appreciate all of you out there and whatnot. We're almost at 40,000 subscribers. Thank you for helping us get there. If you're new to us at the Bleeding Edge, please do us a solid and ring that fucking bell, baby. Right? Of course, you can just subscribe right now. We'd appreciate that. But in the meantime, if you ring that bell and you know we're live, right, you can check in and see that we consistently deliver, and we'll fucking earn your shit. We're not afraid to earn our stats. So, you know what I'm saying? We'll just watch our shit, and I guarantee you'll want to hit the subscribe button if you just catch one of our shows. It's that simple, right? Unless it's an off night for me, and I fail the team, which occasionally does happen, but that's why I got Cyber here to back me up. So, Cyberneticshark, sir. All right. Our usual repertoire of questions with these movies from the 90s and the 80s and whatnot, the older ones. When was the last time you saw the Event Horizon, other than today? Because me and Cyber always watch everything that we're going to review, for the most part, right before the show or during the day of the show, whatnot, everything. That's one of our consistent themes that him and I always do when we review anything.
The last time I watched this, which was actually probably my second viewing of it altogether since it came out in '97, was probably only like a year ago.
Wow.
So I had watched it just recently because I think I watched it once when it came out on like a movie channel back like early 2000s, and then I hadn't watched it since. So I just happened to be scrolling one day and found it, and I'm like, oh, I should watch this again.
Back when
I watched it.
back when stuff would just pop up right on like when you were looking at when you were flipping channels, or where you were looking at what was so novel when it first came out, the ability to be actually pick up and see what was going on other channels, right?
Yes. Yeah.
No,
So, yeah. Yeah.
that makes me actually think of the fact that like Matthew over at Born to Watch, I was watching their review of Dirty Dancing earlier today, listening to it. Matthew, that motherfucker, he hadn't seen Dirty Dancing until in the 2000s. You believe that shit?
Yeah, I didn't see it till the 2000s either.
Really? Wow, that's crazy.
I was never a huge Patrick Swayze fan, so.
Well, no, it's just interesting to me because it's crazy. It's such a contrast to me because I always see this stuff right when I'm young, right? Like like it's I find it interesting. But so you only see the film 3 times then, basically.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine at that point, it's pretty vivid to you. What do you think? I mean, does it hold up as a multiple watch film, or is all the value really in that first pop?
The story itself holds up every watch. The visual effects, I feel every year until they put out like a 4K kind of rendition of it, is pretty weak. I can see why a lot of people gave it a hard time back when it first got launched in '97, because it did. It got pushed ahead to be released because stupid Titanic wasn't finished. And so Paul W. Anderson, S. Anderson, he had to basically cut literally half the film out to be able to put it out when they released it that year. So you can see that a lot of the reason why it didn't do well and why it's gotten a cult following since is because whoever put it out, them having to push it out as quickly as possible, really screwed it over.
That's right.
It has a lot of inconsistencies throughout the whole entire film. So I can see why a lot of people hated it. But for me, I understood the story the first bat off, and it reminded me of a few other films I've seen over the years. So to me, I get the story. I understand where it was going, but I definitely get why a lot of people dissed it when it first came out in '97.
And now, what pardon me, what Cyber would be alluding to would be the fact that basically there's a standard 10-week editing period that all directors are allowed automatically by the Directors Guild of America. And now on Anderson's behalf, he agreed and was fine with only having 6 weeks, taking into consideration the Titanic release, right? And I believe it's Paramount was the one that wanted, to schedule the film to coming out off that. Yeah. So at that point, they also ended up with lost footage. With the initial DVD release became a surprise hit. The studio and Anderson became interested in assembling a director's cut, but found that the excised footage had not been carefully stored, and much of it had gone missing. So there'll probably be a 4K Blu-ray, but it won't have the majority of all those missed scenes. They're gone.
Well, when it did get released on DVD at one point, they did do a director's cut, which was almost the entire what they were able to find, and that Paul W.S. Anderson put together.
I have
so that version, I think, is the version they should put on 4K when they put it on 4K, because the director's cut by far is a far superior film versus this one. It made a lot more sense. You got a little bit more where it was coming from, and it just was. It felt more better edited together too.
I bought it, but I've never watched it. It's still in the plastic. You know what I'm saying? There was the only reason it was the one extended. For once, I bought an extended version before you advised me that I should start buying them, the 4K ones, because it wasn't 4K. That's why it stood out to me when not everything. I wanted Event Horizon. That's what was on the rack. So I was like, the hell with it. I'm gonna buy it. I just haven't taken it out of the plastic. I watched it on Prime. So, I couldn't remember with all my, storage, with all my storage all over the garage, all over the place. I couldn't remember where I put the DVD. So, either way, no, I think that, without question, and we'll get into this in the review, I think that they did a great job with the casting and, with the story, adding more length to the film definitely would have helped. It had to have helped, right? You'd think, if you'd flushed out more, it would have been nice to have seen more of the character arcs, for the characters, whatnot, and everything, more exposition maybe, for once instead of less, right? Because they kind of just went right into shit. You know what I mean? It give you that vibe where it's like, okay, like no background. Here you go. You know what I'm saying? But they did a good job, I thought. But either way, let me get into the actual review of the film. Again, we appreciate y'all, folks. If you enjoy this, when you watch it, when it's video version form, not live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell. So, Cyber, I'm not going to go through the whole scroll that they play in the beginning of the movie, where they basically, which I love that they do that. I love that they go ahead and set things up by, like, instead of having, like, contextual scenes, flashback scenes on Earth of the actual launching of the Project Event Horizon and whatnot and everything, right? They just give us like almost like not a Star Wars scroll, but they play a couple of straight shots with just text explaining basically what would be the official take, right? Not the real deal, top secret shit, but what the public was told occurred with the Event Horizon, right? The biggest failed space project in the history of NASA or whatever, right? So, but of course, the public doesn't understand or know. Those of you who've seen Event Horizon know the truth of what really happened with the Event Horizon, or what it even was supposed to be for, really. But basically, the film comes right off of that, which I think is really cool, with Weir already dreaming. Dr. Weir, who of course created the not the Event Horizon, the ship itself, but created the device that we'll talk about later, that ends up being sort of what he calls the heart of the Event Horizon, and is sort of the gateway, right, to whatever the hell they go to, whatever the ship goes to where it disappears for 7 years. And that's why he's waking up from a dream already, sort of, and we'll talk about this, Cyber. I think he's already at that point on the ship, on the Lewis and Clark, right? Which we don't know that's what it is yet. He's already being like called in by like the ship, by the Event Horizon, just because they're getting close to it, right? There's like a familiarity because he created the core. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So like, I really feel like I've always have, I think, since I watched it, not when I was a kid, when I first saw it the first time. This would probably be my third or fourth watch today. So about the same as you, about my third or fourth. So basically we go right in. Weir's dreaming of what you can kind of tell, they make it pretty clear, is his dead wife, right? And like being visited by her, and what I call basically like these disturbances that they experience in the beginning, these incidents that become sort of like the repetitive throughout the film as a theme, with dead people coming back. But great use of the spiraling camera shot, though. You got to give them credit for that in space. I thought the space shots were pretty decent on Lewis and Clark when they did that right in the beginning of the film, when they introduced us to the crew and whatnot, everything and all that. And they go into hypersleep, or whatever you want to call it, in the grav couches, right? Basically, they give us a great spiral shot where they basically just take the camera and they rotate it 360 degrees while backing up, right, to kind of like show space and also show the size of the Lewis and Clark. And they did a great job. Whoever designed the ships, right, did a great job. The whole team, like, you know, the whole from concept to like a digital effect. I thought they did a great job for 1997 with how really good the ships look. The Event Horizon and the Lewis and Clark. Lewis and Clark is big. Now they tell us in that scrolling in the beginning that the Lewis and Clark is on a top secret mission. They don't even know what they're doing, but they're going to the far outreaches of space near Pluto. So somewhere where nobody would want to go. Coming off that, we find out, you know, right off the bat, we're introduced to the crew in a really cool fashion where it's right when basically Weir's coming off his dream and they're about to go ahead and go together on the Lewis and Clark on this mission, not really knowing what the hell they're doing, only Weir knowing, and they get put into like the grab couches, which are basically think aliens, right? Like, we know how they would put people in like those stasis beds or whatnot, everything during like long, you know, periods of space travel. Same concept. So when we finally get them out of the grab couches, we're, you know, at that point Weir has another dream, another incident. We're introduced to the crew: Captain Miller, Dr. Weir, Peters, Lieutenant Stark, Cooper, Justin, DJ, Smitty, right? And I'll go down and we'll go down the list of the actors and actresses. They did a great job, I thought, casting this for 1997. I think they thought this film was going to be a lot bigger than it was. Cyber, would you agree?
Oh yeah, it was going to be until they fucked it up by screwing half of the picture.
You can tell by just the way it's written and everything and whatnot, and how there are certain aspects of it that are really well done. Because I'm a 90s guy, you know, kid. I can remember, in contrast, how well this looked for like a spaceship, for instance, right? How well it was shot compared to other films I'd seen in that genre. And this was like beyond, kind of like, you know, plus the casting, the people who are in it, like Jolie Richards, for instance, and whatnot. Fishburne was at like at his peak at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously. That was probably the highlight of his popularity, was that period of time. No wonder that they made him like the, you know, the sort of like, you know, the two bill made, you know, two characters with obviously with Sam Neill. But we're introduced to the crew. It's all very fluid, right? Again, there's no backstory, there's no flashback stuff or whatever, whatnot, really. You're launched right into things and whatnot and everything, and you're just kind of sort of like, everything kind of goes like right on the ground running. And, you know, and you see how that, you know, how this crew, I think they were trying to display the tightness of like, you know, what this crew does and whatnot and everything, right? Like how good they are at their jobs and whatnot, and that like they're handling their business. And also their familiarity with each other, that they know each other personally. Like, you know, they've put time in together. But basically, you know, we have Weir dreaming again, which again, you know, will be connecting to later on. He's seeing his dead wife again, you know, this time on the ship, nude. She's pretty hot for a dead wife. Pretty fine. Can't complain about the nude scenes with her and whatnot at all. And she's also got some of that Night Sister, fucking Thrawn, pink herp, red herp going out with her eyes, of course. Maybe Thrawn hit that. I'm not sure, Cyber. You know, who knows? Thrawn's from deep space too. It's possible that Event Horizon crossed over into fucking Star Wars, and Thrawn hit that shit. You didn't notice that she had the pink herp from the red herp from the fucking the Night Sisters?
Well, her eyes were black, not red.
Don't they look kind of red in the first dream?
A little bit, but yeah, I don't see it as Thrawn, but okay. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm just trying to bring that interactivity, baby. Come on now. You gotta love it. So basically, you know, we get this whole scene where, you know, Weir wakes up from his dream after this, you know, very vivid dream, that, you know, and basically, you know, the crew wakes up and whatnot, everything. And before we actually have them sit down and talk about what the fuck they're doing, I love it when Coop says to Lieutenant Stark, he offers weird coffee. He offers her. He says, "You want something hot and black and dark up inside you, or whatever, whatnot and shit and whatnot." That was dope. But I'll cut it off right there before we get into, well, let me slip in there. Of course, the fact that they did they do put out there at the bat that they're there based off a random message picked up in deep space from the event horizon. That's the one tidbit from that Weir gives out that I'll mention right now before we get into everything that he says. So Cyber, going up until that point, right? Looking back at, mixing it up between kind of where you're at today watching it and then when you saw it the first time. What's your take on that whole introduction? How did you think they did it as far as like, introducing us to the crew the way they did and then assimilating them with Weir the way they did as far as how that flowed and whatnot, everything, right? Did it work? And did you appreciate or think much of the space shots that they showed us and whatnot, everything? I thought they were pretty decent.
So for 1997's graphics, they're pretty decent. You definitely tell that they put a little effort, some of the money into those scenes. But when they showed the first time going into the event horizon, there's definitely some flaws there that it shows with some of the floating items. They weren't defined very well. I can see that's kind of where the editing didn't get into. But overall, the CGI wasn't too shabby for 1997, and 26 years later, it looks pretty decent still. And so then you have, basically kind of that introduction. That definitely felt like there was more to it than they were showing. I feel that's probably somewhere where Paul W.S. Anderson had to edit it, because it definitely went like from him all of a sudden being there, having that dream, seeing his dead wife, and then all of a sudden them it being 56 days later, him coming out from the dream and them like having to kind of like calm it down and like being introduced to the characters a little bit there. You don't really get to know them until they're on, after they get out of stasis again, that 56 days later when he's finally actually introduced to them. So you don't really get too much information about the characters at first, and that kind of throws things off. And I feel that once again, it comes back to the editing, that there was probably more story to that than we got to see, because I felt like it cut from certain scenes too quickly, and it didn't seem to get, unfortunately, enough information out there. So like you were saying, I feel like there's definitely a lot of editing that took place in that beginning sequence there that we did not get. And comparing it to the first time I watched it, it's the same to me. It hasn't changed at all for me.
For me, the only difference is between like watching it back in the day, and this has nothing to do with age. I don't believe, to be honest with you, this has to do with how the horror aspect of this film, the scary part of it kind of works. It's only as effective at its best the first time you watch it. After you watch it again the second, third time, it's creepy. Some of the fucking like stuff they do in this movie that to scare you is creepy as fuck still, but it doesn't have that same impact on you like a lot of there's like any horror themed film, right? That it does that first time when you first see it fresh. So you get what I'm saying? Like, it would have been great to review this back in the day, right? The first time when we watched it or whatever, whatnot, and everything, because like that shit's jarring. Some of the stuff that happens and whatnot when you first see it, you're like, holy fuck. You know what I mean? Now, do you feel like they did a good job of casting the crew? Were you happy with, did you like, again, Cyber and I both were adults in the 90s. Well, not adults. I was an adult. Cyber was close to an adult. But we watched all the movies in the 90s. So we know who was popular back then and whatnot and all that. I know more than Cyber more than me. We know who was popular, what films they were doing then and whatnot and everything, right? Like, coming off this, going off after this and whatnot. If I remember correctly, quite a few of the crew members they were really sort of not at their peak kind of spots, like in their careers. Really, they were either coming off or going into big films.
Well, yeah, Fishburne was 2 years away from doing The Matrix. Kathleen Quinlan was just coming off of doing Apollo 13 2 years prior. Jason Isaac
and she's excellent in the film too.
Yeah, Jason Isaac would go on 3 years later to be in The Patriot. He also would be in as Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter 4 years later. So I mean, yeah, a lot of these actors, they were coming into their prime. A lot of them. I think even Jolie Richardson, she was very big, mid to late 90s. So
she was in The Patriot too.
Yes, she was. She plays the wife, the first wife's sister that Mel Gibson falls in love with afterwards, and
she's good in that.
Yep, and then of course the one gentleman there, that plays Justin, I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with him. I recall seeing him before, but I can't think of anything else he's been in or was going to be in. But the guy that played, not Justin. I'm sorry, Cooper. Sorry, Cooper is who I'm talking about. Justin, the guy that tries to kill himself by throwing himself in the airlock. He actually was in the Brady Bunch movie 2 years prior, and he went on to do a whole bunch of like bit parts of movies. Like he was in Breakdown, which came out in '98. He played several different types of characters, bad guys, good guys, stuff like that. And but yeah, all these people it was a good cast, and it's too bad that this movie got so screwed over that it didn't allow them to really give their best performances they could have. Because yeah, I definitely agree there, Matt. Fishburne was great in this. And yeah, I definitely got very much Alien vibes from this movie. And Jack Noseworthy plays Justin. Yes, he was.
Jack Noseworthy. Yeah, Richard T. Jones as Cooper. You got Jolie Richardson as Lieutenant Stark. You got Kathleen Quinlan, as we already mentioned, who was excellent as Peters. I thought that she was probably. I thought she was the best. Personally, as far as her acting, she really portrayed her character very well. Sam Neill as Weir, Fishburne as Captain Miller, Jason Isaacs as DJ, Sean Pertwee, who's a Brit actor. I've seen him in some Brit stuff before as Schmitty.
He also played Alfred in the Gotham.
Yeah, he did. You're right, most definitely. And basically, and shout out to you, Matthew. It's good to see you, brother, from Born to Watch, a movie podcast. The crew of Event Horizon obviously hadn't seen the movie Alien. Nothing good ever responding to SOS. No, for real. Fishburne is great in this. Yeah, he is. Fishburne is great in this. Too much studio interference. Would love to see a Director's Cut. I think they destroyed all the extra film. They did destroy all of it, Matthew. Or got lost or whatever, whatnot, and all that. It's very unfortunate. No, I thought it was great casting on the crew. And great casting of Weir as sort of the antagonist as he starts to get possessed by the ship. But basically, to move further into the film, what we get then is sort of what the meeting between the crew where Weir expounds and explains finally what this top secret mission is about, and the crew has questions. It explains that there was a media cover-up, that the Event Horizon was never it never exploded or whatever, whatnot, everything, and that it got lost. It activated the gravity drive that he designed, and when it did, that's it. It disappeared. Well, it came back 7 years later, and they're coming here where they're going based off coordinates, based off a transmission. Right, that Earth picked up from deep space randomly from the Event Horizon. The transmission's fucked when you hear it. So it's like, why you even fucking want to go there? I have no idea. Like, after hearing that shit, but you don't even need to see the video. The transmission from the Event Horizon is fucked. It's obviously not good. And that's one thing about the film that I'm like, again, I don't know if it has something to do with the shit they cut, but who the fuck would hear that and be like, oh, let's go? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me, bro? You sent me to deep space, which is dangerous as fuck, where we'll have no help at all. If anything happens to us, we'll be fucked, right? But like, we're gonna go fucking hang out with this shit, wherever the fuck this came from. People screaming and shit and whatnot. It's obviously they're being killed and shit and whatever, tortured. The fuck? I'm serious. I'm sorry. That's the one part of the movie where I'm just like, come on, man. Seriously? Who the fuck hears that? And they're just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, bad editing there. There was definitely more to that too.
For real.
I feel there was a lot more to a lot of those scenes that we see where it like cuts to show like those crazy images going on, people being ripped up and stuff like that. I think there was definitely a lot more of that.
There had to been.
They had to cut out a lot of that. So that's probably why a lot of those like sequences, because they're cut so short, they don't make sense.
And then DJ being able to figure out that that's Latin, the voice they isolate, but yet the NASA motherfuckers couldn't figure that out. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? Like, seriously. Like, they wouldn't have, like, detected that. Like, I don't speak Latin, but, like, even I could tell that was Latin. So, you know, I'm just kind of like, okay. But those are just a few, like, very slight complaints. Basically, Weir, in layman's terms, explains that, you know, what the function of the Event Horizon really is. That it's a light speed travel, ship based off of this gravity drive that he developed, right? That folds space and time and makes it the two endpoints living, like, basically existing in the same space, right? Later on, he explains that this it's funny how, like, he leaves out these details. He explains that in all reality, what the core does is it actually creates its own artificial black hole. Which, of course, I'm not exactly an astrophysicist, but I know enough about black holes to know that they're fucking really extremely fucking devastating. You know what I'm saying? What they do and function. So wanting to create one artificially just seems like fucked, like, to begin with. It's not often you say you want a movie to be longer, but seeing what actually happened to the previous crew would have made a huge difference. For real, yeah. I mean, we'll get into it, but when they're finally able to clean up that video and show what the fuck happened there and shit and whatnot, that is one of the creepiest things I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. The first time I saw it. That video is creepy as fuck from the ship log. But shout out to you, Matthew. But so of course, you know, upon hearing, you know, what Weir says that, you know, hearing the transmission, for one thing, DJ does complain. He does have, like, some basic complaints about going there and whatnot and everything, but that's it. You don't hear any other protests and they go. But so Weir explains to them exactly what the ship does. You know, it was heading for Proxima Centauri and just disappeared for 7 years. And I'll stop there, right? They're on their way now to the Event Horizon. They're close. So, Cyber, thoughts, sir?
So that sequence of the film, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And just like we were saying, there's a lot that they definitely cut out to make it shorter and, you know, to the point. And so just like Matt said in the comments here, showing what that previous crew went through would have made a big difference. And what I was reading about the movie itself, like with the editing and production and stuff like that, and even originally the original rough cut that Anderson did was a 2 hour and 10-minute cut too as well. So before he even, all the footage he shot was like over a 3 hour long movie, but then when he cut it down, edited for the first time back in '97, it was down to 2 hours and 10 minutes, and they thought that was still too long, and that the test audiences didn't really care for it because they thought that the gore was too graphic. And so he had to cut out a lot of the gore scenes, because he even mentioned that he actually had filmed the whole bloody orgy scene where he used real amputees and have their limbs pulled off and stuff like that in graphic fashion, and used pornographic actors and actresses to to assimilate the sex going on is real. And they had to cut that. They had to cut that completely out. Which, if you watch this version of the film, you can briefly see it. It's a part of like one of the dream sequences, but it's nowhere to its full length. That
it's in the transmission when they're able to clean it up right there. You know what I'm saying at the end.
Yeah.
Remember when DJ cleans it up, but you only see like 10 seconds of it.
Yeah,
right?
It's really brief.
Imagine seeing a minute of it.
Yeah. So. There was a lot taken out of this that could have made this whole sequence that we're talking about lead up. And you know, DJ, who's played by Jason Isaac, I actually loved his character. I think it's a really great character. And him picking up that it's Latin, I thought was really cool. And even though, you know, NASA wasn't able to figure that out, I still think it's cool that they gave him the opportunity to he be the one to be like, sir, there's a message here. We need to figure out what it means. And stuff like that. So I think that was really cool. And I just think Jason Isaac is such a great actor. I absolutely love that guy. I mean, from the first time I saw him in The Patriot, I knew he was going to be a fantastic actor. I fell in love with the character, and I fell in love with his acting. And you know, of course, him as Lucius Malfoy was fantastic. His character in the tuxedo with Jackie Chan was fantastic. Pretty much anything he's ever in, he's really good. He was in Green Zone with Matt Damon. He was really good. And he is just always fun to watch, but I love that character of DJ. That's probably one of my favorite characters in the movie. And so when he figured that out and stuff, I thought he did a really good job. And, you know, basically the whole sequence kind of gives you a little bit more information of, you know, kind of the crew a little bit. You get that kind of introduction to all the different characters' names. And, you know, Lawrence Fishburne tells, you know, introduces Ware, and he basically tells them what they're looking for, and that this is a top secret mission. And basically we get kind of that, it's kind of that little introduction going to the event horizon, and basically leading up to it. And you kind of have the kind of some that interesting, you know, like you were saying, that sound, that clip that they find that they're listening to, and DJ figures out that's Latin, and him figuring out that it's basically it's saying save me, but we'll find out later on it's not saying save me. But it literally, like, the sound of it, you can just hear the death curdles and all that kind of stuff in the background. You're just like, I don't think that would be a good idea to go towards that.
For real, why the fuck would you even want to go anywhere like that?
But like, you know, you're on a rescue mission, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, I gotta do that, you know.
I don't want to rescue anybody that's fucking whatever the fuck is going on there, bro. They don't need to be rescued.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you know,
they're done, bro.
I don't like how they make fun of that in Scream 1 when Neve Campbell says, you know, it's insulting to women when they have the big-breasted woman and she runs upstairs and says right out the front door. It's kind of that same thought process there with this, like, you don't go towards screaming, you go away from screaming, you know. But yeah, Matt, it's not often they want movies longer. You want movies longer, most definitely. But when it comes to certain movies, putting that extra footage in, it's so much better.
This isn't the first one. This isn't the first one we reviewed where we've talked about how we wish the movie was like a half hour longer or whatever, whatnot, or the extra 45 minutes would have been nice. You know what I'm saying? If you like a movie a lot and whatnot, like I really like Event Horizon. Again, like, you know, for somebody that like that has to, like, you know, unless it's like more MCU related, unless it really catches my eye, like I don't really get pumped to watch movies that much unless we're going to review them as part of content creation. Event Horizons, you know, is someone where, like, when I see the DVD of it in the store, I buy it, right? Like without even like thinking about it, because it's like it's a classic for me. For me personally, this is a classic, right? Back when I didn't even know that I loved sci-fi. And then I thought, and I loved the genre of sci-fi horror films. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I wasn't that like evolved at like whatever the fuck I was. This came out in 1997, Cyber, my favorite year. 14 years old, bro. I told you, the year where I partied more in my entire life, and fucking, it was a blast. I experienced my own Event Horizon, tripping acid several times. It was intense. No, thank God none of my acid trips ever evolved into fucking Event Horizon. Thank you, God. Right? It's pretty rare that you mentioned the word acid trip and like being religious at the same time, but there you go. TrueKnowledge is a very layered guy, I've heard. What are we drinking? Evian tonight, Cyber?
Pellegrino.
I'm just kidding, man. Anyways,
Pellegrino and Perrier.
it's so let me play this here. I'm gonna go ahead and play the trailer and add some context. I think it really will. And these trailers are actually really good. I was surprised at how good they are for 1997. 1997 was a great year for film.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
God damn. If I was on the fucking ship and it knew my fears and secrets and all that shit and whatnot, it would fucking be showing me She-Hulk. You know what I'm saying? Dobbing me again and whatnot and everything. It'd be fucking intense. I'd have She-Hulk fucking episodes and shit, just like the crew. It's going to be She with the red fucking herp eyes or the black eyes or whatever and whatnot. I'm telling you, man, it'd be deep. Right, Matt? It'd be like there'd be some Caligula type shit going on and whatnot in my like disturbances and whatnot with the ship. But anyways, not bad trailer, right?
No, it looks like it was from one of its releases on media. This does have a 4K release, by the way. I did not realize that. I actually forgot it had come out on 4K recently. But yeah, this is out on 4K. So the one on Amazon Prime was a 4K.
It was on my 4K TV. Oh, but it has to be 4K to be. Yeah, it was 4K. Yeah. I told you how I feel about that, though. I'm still trying to get used to the 4K movies, man. It's a totally different feel to watch them like that.
Yeah, you got to mess with the settings too.
Yeah, sometimes I even actually prefer to sit and watch it on here rather than on there, because I'm used to the 1080p.
Yep.
Right. Like most of us, it's just what we're used to. It's what looks more natural. But no, I think it's a decent trailer. The other trailer I have for it is the official trailer. It's a little bit longer. I'll play it later if we have time. But basically, where we come off of, where we were at, basically was, them approaching the event horizon to dock. And when they do that, they basically end up in this like space storm, right? Where they can't even make out the ship. But they're able to like slow their forward progress without hitting it, and able to dock, right? And they extend their umbilicus and whatnot and everything. And the boarding crew, consisting of Justin Peters and Captain Miller, enter the Event Horizon, which is this massive ship. You think that Lewis and Clark is fucking big? The Event Horizon is massive. I think they did an decent job with the scale of it for 1997. Nowadays, if I imagine doing it now with the effects that they have, it probably would look much bigger. I imagine much more expansive. It's a big ship, and basically, it's dead as a tomb, as Captain Miller says. And basically, the only thing that happens while they're in there is that there is one body just kind of floating without atmosphere, all ravaged and shit and whatnot and everything and whatnot, that Peters bumps into. But, once they're on there searching the ship, Justin encounters the drive for the first time, the core. And I love the writing on this and the connectivity to the storyline. Cyber, when Weir says the heart of the ship, right, is the core. Again, playing off the whole concept of the fact that the ship it's becoming clear almost from jump that the ship is alive, as we're going to talk about here. Right coming off here. You know what I'm saying? The ship is basically almost possessed, if that's possible, which is a great concept if you think about it to unpack. But so they basically sweep the ship. The heart of the ship, as Weir says. When Justin approaches the core, there's a bright light that staggers him. He's almost trance-like and pulled in to want to like reach into it, where there's almost like a black fluid that shimmers. And when he reaches up in that bitch, man, something in that void reaches back, right, and pulls him through. And just that the course I believe is supposed to be open. We'll later find out from Weir. He doesn't even believe that that's even possible, but it is. You can tell that the construct is working. It's wide open. This causes massive like electronic damage and like oversurge to Lewis and Clark that incapacitates the ship and damages it to the level of actually breaching the hull, right? So they're venting air and losing atmosphere in the ship. So they're kind of in a bad fucking spot. Everything's on fire, right? At that point, they know that Justin's in trouble. They can't get in contact with him and whatnot. Coop takes off to help him out. And the crew realizes that they're only, and with Weir's also jumping in, that even though Smitty, for instance, doesn't even want anything to do with the ship, if they want to live, they've got to go over to the event horizon where there is breathable atmosphere and still a still functioning ship. So Cooper grabs Justin up coming off that vibe, and the corpse, of course, once the atmosphere is restored to the ship, shatters into basically into pieces. We find out that basically, although the atmosphere is restored, the CO2 scrubbers on the ship are shot. And even with the replacement ones that they can take from the event horizon, from Lewis and Clark, it's still only going to give them enough breathable air for 2 days. So I'll stop there, Cyber. Thoughts? On the trailer, too, as well, if there's anything in there that you want to point out that we got to see visually.
Let's see. So basically, basically them making it to the event horizon is kind of like the pinnacle of the movie. Them finally finding it and boarding it, and finding out that they only have 2 days of oxygen definitely puts a damper on things for them. And you have all that kind of side stories kind of going on there, I feel, with them getting ready to board the event horizon and stuff like that. And you kind of start to see Weir kind of doing weird things a little bit. You start to notice that there's definitely something going on with Weir, and like it's not right. And you have kind of like all this interesting stuff going on, I feel. I don't think it's anything that great of importance. I think a lot of it, I think it's, once again, a lot of shortcut scenes that they just put together that there was some left out from them. And that's how I felt kind of about the whole movie, is like throughout the whole entire film. I definitely feel like every scene was a extension of something longer. And so you kind of get bits and pieces as you go through. And like this section of the film, I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't think there was too much edited, but there's definitely some edited from it. But I definitely feel that it was, probably my least favorite part of the film. I think this part, I feel it was kind of a little slow. The most boring part of the film. Not like necessarily it's horrible bad, but it definitely was the most slower part of the film, I felt. And once we get onto the event horizon is when it really starts to kick off, and we get a lot of the greatness that this movie is. And one thing I forget to mention was this movie has a lot of the same prospects of a great movie from the 80s called Death Ship. Death Ship is basically about this ocean liner that is possessed. And basically it does exactly the same things that are going on in the Event Horizon. The exact same thing goes on the ship. And so I feel like Event Horizon, a lot of its writing was kind of based off of that movie from the 80s. Because Death Ship and Event Horizon definitely could be identical twins, just one in space and one on water. And because there's a lot of scenes where there's a lot of blood throughout this film, like the big pool of blood that comes pouring out. Well, there's a scene in Death Ship where this chick goes to take a shower, and it's blood coming out of the faucets and out of the shower. And same thing, like there's a scene in it where there's a giant washing of blood that comes pouring out of the ship. And I feel like this film mimics that film very well. So as I'm watching it, I'm thinking about Death Ship the whole time because it's such a great horror film from the 80s. And so I kept getting that vibe from this, especially after we get onto the Event Horizon, it becomes even more apparent. But there's definitely a lot of similarities to that. And I think it's funny because I definitely feel like they definitely in writing they ripped some of the things off from that film. Uh, but at the same time, like I said, I think this section of the film is probably like I said, my least favorite. I feel the slowest. But definitely it starts to kick up after we get on the event horizon. The trailer itself, I mean, there was a really decent trailer. And like I said, I feel it's definitely like one of the ones for like when it got released on Blu-ray or 4K or whatever.
3 years old.
3 years, yeah. And yeah, because they got a Shout Factory that got released about 3 years ago. So the Shout Factory release had like a whole bunch of cool stuff, that 4K transfer and everything. So I think that's what this was for. But it was a really decent trailer. Like it showed some crucial points of the film, but it didn't show too much. And I thought that it did a good job. I mean, that one scene there where it shows all the people in the pods. That scene always is really cool to me because I'm just like, why the hell are they in water in these hyper chambers? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, pretty much any other movie I've seen hyper chambers that they go to sleep in, they're not filled with water. So I thought that definitely was something different for this film.
It's like some Avatar shit, maybe. Or something. I'm not even sure either. I have no idea. But no, Anderson, when he rewrote the script, when he rewrote the script based off of the initial story, he admits that there were influences on him in that rewriting with The Haunting from 1963 from Robert Wise and from Kubrick's The Shining in 1980. And then screenwriter Philip Eisner acknowledged that Warhammer 40,000 influenced the story heavily as well. I've never seen that film before. It says that it's a set in the setting of Warhammer 40,000, spaceships travel the galaxy by passing through the warp, a parallel dimension where faster than light travel is possible, conceptually similar to hyperspace in Star Wars, but which is also inhabited by evil spirits that can infiltrate the ship and possess the crew if said ship is not properly shielded. Fans consider Event Horizon to be an unofficial prequel to Warhammer 40,000. Interesting. When humankind discovers the warp and learns of its dangers the hard way. But, that's very intense. I've certainly gotten intoxicated to the point where I've experienced the warp a couple times in my life. I don't know about you, Cyber. It's pretty interesting. But, you never know. Good and bad things could happen when you're in the warp at that point. You never know at that point. But, so going off that, right, Justin basically ends up in a vegetative state from his exposure to what he will later on refer to as the dark, which I think is great that they labeled it that. I really do. I love that. There's actually, I wrote down several quotes in here, not in my outline, from certain characters that said certain things that I feel are really well put, that tie so heavily into the story, and continue to, as we go through towards the end, sort of like indicating or conveying that the ship is possessed, right? Essentially, in some way. But the way that it's written, it's not right there. You got to kind of hit it. You got to catch it a little bit. Just like with Weir calling the core right from jump the heart of the ship, right? That's definitely like a double entendre kind of thing. It is. It's a setup, a premise that if you're the audience member, you might, if you're really paying attention, you might catch. Especially if you saw Warhammer 40,000, Cyber. Apparently, never heard of it.
I've heard of the name, I just never seen it.
It sounds like a comic book title.
Well, it sounds just like that role-playing game. There's a role-playing game that it's the same thing. It's called Warhammer, and it's very similar to like playing like Risk or Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And you use little figurines and stuff like that. But yeah, I've heard of the name of this film, but I've never seen it.
Well, so Justin's in a vegetative state. Coop tries to explain to Captain Miller and to Weir what he saw going on with Justin as far as him actually coming out of the core, right? And Weir dismisses it, like he does a lot of dismissing everything. You know what I'm saying? He just makes excuses that are somewhat plausible because he is, of course, like this, like, big league scientist and shit and whatnot. He understands shipbuilding and whatnot and everything. Like, he obviously, like, he knows his shit. So, I mean, at that point, he's able to, like, come up with plausible excuses for some of the things that are occurring, even though, it's obvious to, like, the crew that there's some fucked up shit going on. They're seeing shit already. That's not fucking right. Weir refuses to believe that the core is activated because it wasn't activated. Nobody activated it. But we saw it light up. So it obviously does just on its own. Something figured out how to activate it, right? Which again coalesces into the whole, possession of the ship deal. But Miller even says what's in the core to Weir when they walk out and talk off the kind of group meeting. And that's when Weir drops the bomb of the artificial black hole deal and the fact that they really have no clue where the fucking ship could have gone because, like, literally, how would anybody know what that void or space would be that would exist when you connect two different, points of geography through a fucking black hole, essentially, right? If I understand the science of what this how the core works. So Piers experiences her first disturbance at that point, as it consistently happens and spreads quickly through the crew. Similar to Weir's dreams, seeing like visual depictions of her dead son, which are pretty gory, when she sees him in that fucking scary ass tent shit and whatnot, where he's in that fucking tube. That shit is fucking crazy. Another thing where if I saw that, I'd be like, I ain't going near that. I'm sorry, but no. That scene is spooky as fuck. We get the ship log scene from the Event Horizon before it gets cleaned up. They have it, right? They haven't gotten it cleaned up yet. So you could, you don't see the disturbing shit yet. All you see is the old crew, the crew from the ship celebrating and ready to rock and roll for the engaging the core. So, all of a sudden, the core activates on its own again, and essentially, Justin wakes up and is saying the dark is coming, right, to DJ, and we get another disturbance where Miller sees his dead buddy that's burning, basically alive, that we hear about later. And we go right into the crew and Weir discussing these dead visions, and Weir will not admit that he's seeing his dead wife, right? Everybody else, like Peters and everybody, will not admit that they're seeing shit. She's like, I just saw my dead son. Like flat out, like no hesitation, and no reticence. And they break down the current state of their situation. All of a sudden now we get, basically Peter's going to check on Justin, and Justin's disappeared. There's an explosion, another explosion. And somebody's trying to bang through the fucking door, right where Peters is at in med bay. The forward airlock opens, and it's Justin exposing himself to space. Because Justin went to the other place, as he explains to Peters. He went to the other place, and if you had seen what I'd seen, you'd understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm about to go out into space and kill myself, right? Miller tries to save his life, brings him in after he's already been exposed to space and he's all fucked up. But DJ says he's going to survive. The core is wide open this whole time. It's active. It's just wide open. So, basically the core is like sabotaging them left and right and scaring the fuck out of them at the same time and like haunting them. And I'll stop there. Thought Cyber on that part of the movie and Justin disappearing and some of that dialogue about him, I thought that was really well done. Say what you want about the delivery of it, but the writing him explaining what his motivation, as he's basically possessed and then wakes up, right? And is like, where the fuck am I?
Yeah, no, the writing of this movie was really well done. Like I said, it was a really great script. It was mashed up by the editing. Editing killed it all. That's the only reason why I feel that this was, not the greatest version of this film, is because not because of the script, it's because of just the editing. But the script itself was really fantastic. It was a great idea, really interesting idea, and a really fun sci-fi, type of film. But the sequences that we're talking about here, this is when it starts to really get good. We start having all the crazy things happening on the ship. People start seeing things, start seeing visions. We get, like you said, that one scene where Kathleen Quinlan sees her son. His legs are all messed up underneath that tent thing.
That's disgusting.
And that's too bad. It's like, unfortunately, it's not real, but whatever this thing is that is open because of the core being the heart of the ship, is causing these, basically these people to see their worst fears. And, you get that scene with, Miller himself seeing his burning, friend that he couldn't save. And, each of these people having all these visions like that. And, like I was saying before, Weir, Sam Neill's character, he keeps seeing his dead wife and it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Even on his way, like when he gets into up in the ducts. And
The duct, yeah.
And he gets up in there and he sees his wife in there. And you're like, this guy, there's something definitely, he's getting worse than everyone else. So there's definitely some connection to him and the ship.
It's almost like maybe the ship sees him as like the weak point, right? Or something like that, or whatever, whatnot. And the one most capable of being used almost. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. And, you have all that great kind of CGI and, all that great kind of like chemistry there that was really well done. And then, showing the stasis of, Justin himself lying there on one of the beds there, the med bay, and then all of a sudden him disappearing and ending up in the lock there, the airlock. That scene was really well done. I mean, the look and everything they did to make like his veins were starting to explode and all this kind of stuff was really well done. And his motivation, which I totally get, I understand it. Thankfully Miller's able to save him. You're just like watching that going, holy crap, this guy really is lost his mind, And, that whole sequence was so fun because they're trying to figure out what to do outside, Julie Richardson's character and Kathleen Quinlan. And then Miller's outside, doing his airwalk or whatever, his spacewalk. And he gets himself down there and he, basically tells Justin what to do in order to kind of save himself. And he reaches out and grabs him after the airlock opens and he pushes him in, which is really cool. I thought that was a really well constructed sequence that was really done visually amazing. Like it really looked like he was exploding from the inside out. I thought they did a really good job there. And basically after getting him in there, GJ saying that he's got to be in crisis. He's not going to look very, very good, but he will survive, which I thought was pretty impressive that they were able to actually save him. I thought was really cool too, as well. Not killing him off completely.
Yeah, when you get exposed to just straight raw fucking space, like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty much like, you imagine that's a wrap.
Yeah, pretty much. And I thought that was pretty impressive, like that his body was that resilient that it lasted and survived. And so I think that was really well done. I think that was one of my favorite sequences.
I believe it's because there's no oxygen, right? In space, there's the pressure on its own with no atmosphere and whatnot is what would just cave you in, right?
Well, yeah, it's the same thing. Like if you were to go deep down in the ocean,
deep in the ocean, yeah, same
thing. And so like I think they did a good job there. And I'm sorry, where did we go to again?
Oh, up until we get to where we're going into how they only have 4 hours left until the CO2 scrubbers. So basically, right when they know that Justin's in the vegetative state, and they discuss the dead visions and whatnot and everything, right? And Weir won't tell the truth. But everybody else will, you know what I'm saying, whatnot, right? That they're seeing dead people and shit like that, whatnot. Then we get Justin having what happens to him. So basically, if you have any other thoughts I'll move right into like where we shift next, where we're going to, Miller wanting answers from Weir as to what the fuck.
So just to finish up,
Go ahead.
that sequence there where they're basically discussing their visions and stuff, and we're not saying anything. That's another good point in the film where you're just like, okay, there's definitely something really wrong with Weir. Like there's something going on with him, and I think that whole sequence was really well written too as well. And I think all of them did a really good job at acting out. Quinlan talking about her son, seeing her son, and then Lawrence Fishburne talking about his buddy. And then, pretty much everyone else kind of mentioning kind of what's going on and stuff like that. And we're trying to like say, oh, it's all in your head and stuff like that. And not saying that he's seeing things too. And I think that whole sequence was really well done. It led really well up to Justin trying to commit suicide.
It's hard to determine when Weir is being possessed and whatnot and everything, because like at times he seems rational, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this is his baby. He created the core, right? You know what I'm saying? Whatnot. He wants to believe it's harmless. You know what I mean? Like, he wants to believe. You feel like at times like that like these excuses he's making could be what's going on. He doesn't want to believe that like what he created is the problem, right? Now that's human nature. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's hard to tell at times like whether he's being possessed, right? What this entity is doing to him. You know what I'm saying? As an instrument, you know what I'm saying? Whatnot, right? Like, like where he's at with this shit, because we don't know the ability of like this entity and what it's taking over the ship, what it can really do. Right? Like, I mean, it's able to physically manifest later on in the film and actually like hurt people and shit and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, that was one point that they, I forget who. I think it was Cooper that said this is physical. We're seeing this is like physical things going on. I know what I saw, and even Lawrence Fishburne says that. Miller says that at one point too, saying this. I'm seeing this for literal. I saw it in front of me, and it was actually happening to me. So this is not mental. It's definitely.
I felt real heat. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like it hurt, it was hot.
Yeah, and I think with Weir, I think it's a slow progression through the whole entire film.
Yeah,
that he's being possessed.
He's a set, yeah.
Yeah, he's not fully possessed. He's like being drawn to where he needs to go.
Just like with Justin. Just like with Justin being drawn into the core, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Because
same thing.
There was no logical reason for him to reach into that bitch like that. Why would he? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like why would any person do that? Right? Like seriously. What the fuck even is that? I'm gonna put my whole arm in it. Yeah. Right? I mean, seriously. Unless it's some like, big pussy or whatever, whatnot, everything, you gotta get up in there, right? A la like our TikTok video with the water bottle.
That's no.
Anyways, no, but I think it's interesting because that's where the editing, I think, again kicks in hardcore, is that descent of Weir, when he does finally fucking get possessed completely, it happens so rapidly, right? And his like all of a sudden it's this slow roll just halts. And so like, and then he's full blown fucking the devil. You know what I mean? Like right there is where where I feel like there's scenes that weren't there that were a part of that, more of that progression into his descent into darkness. Right? And the timing got fucked up because whatever got cut off the chopping block. So either way, so we're at 4 hours till the CO2 scrubbers fail, right? And they'll have no more breathing atmosphere at the event horizon. They're trying to fix the breaches in the hull, Smitty and Kupar on the Lewis and Clark. They're out there the whole time. They're in space. So Miller wants answers from fucking Weir. He's tired of this shit, right? And Weir continues to make excuses, and Miller basically then he has a scene where he explains he's being haunted by this guy. I forget his name. I couldn't even make it out when he says it. But this former shipmate from his former ship that died and was burnt to death. And there's an extended scene where he's talking to DJ about it, whatnot, everything, right? And DJ then translates the message in Latin to save yourself from hell. It's a warning. Quasi-alien, right? It's a warning. More alien, connectivity. So I'll stop there, Cyber, because I had the outline. I had myself through. That's where I decided to stop when I wrote it down. Thoughts, sir? Where are you at? What do you think? I know this is like a build-up here, right before we go into the heavy shit, because we're in the point in the film now where it really is all full on, like everything's just going to shit, right? The clock's ticking. You know what I'm saying? So we start seeing people die and shit like that and whatnot and all that. And everything kind of breaks down. We get to the end. So I wanted to stop there and just get your thoughts. Anything you wanted to put out there with still Weir's reticence to admit that like there's some shit going down, it's very pertinent that they get the fuck off this ship and get out of here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is dangerous. Like, where they're at.
Yeah, so I mean, this sequence is pretty basic. I mean, it's a lead up to the the final part of the film, and it kind of gives you an idea of kind of where is out mentally with the slow manipulation by the ship, and the fact that it keeps showing like kind of resistance to everything everyone's saying shows that definitely something is not completely right. And they kind of mention that themselves as they're talking amongst each other, that something going on with Weir, and him, Lawrence Fishburne Miller, asking him, right off the bat, you need to tell me what's going on here. He keeps evading the question because he's being possessed slowly. So I mean, that was just tall tale signs showing that definitely Sam Neill is definitely not on the good guy side. And it was like a slow, kind of slow, eventual, descent for Sam Neill's character, Weir. And basically, after that sequence, kind of leading up to them fixing the ship outside and everything, which was really fun. I think them showing like the patch job they're doing and stuff like that. I thought that was really creative how they did that, because how it looked, how they patched it up, looked so like a miniature model was being repaired, is how it looked. And so I think it was kind of funny how that looked compared to some other things they've done with the film. And I once again I blame the editing for that, probably why it looked like that, because were doing some reshoots and stuff like that after some of the first screenings of it and stuff like that. So that might be a part of that, just like how hokey that looked. But overall, I think that whole sequence was a great little build up to when we come to the climactic conclusion.
Of course. And I think that, again, I think that one thing I can honestly say that I've noticed now that I didn't notice as a kid, as I always like to bring up this stuff and whatnot and everything, because so many of these movies, folks, that we review, me and Cyber, are ones I saw when I was 12, 13, 14 years old a lot, 15, 16 years old, and now I'm watching it again for the first time, or I watched it 2 or 3 times then. I never realized how great Quinlan's performance was in this film. She's really authentic in her scenes where she has to cry or like be scared or whatever, whatnot, and all that, right? Her death scene, her death scene is the most authentic death scene out of all the ones that have like a sad aspect to it. It's the best one out of everybody's. It's the most believable for me. You know what I'm saying? Plus they show the whole thing, that helps. But no, I agree with you. It is sort of, this is almost like a contextual scene, just sort of like setting up the ending, because everything goes to shit at that point, right? Of course, what a shock, right? When they get closer and closer to being able to leave the Event Horizon, there seems to be a theme at that point in the movie you're detecting that like the Event Horizon doesn't want anybody to leave. Once you're there, right? Where you end up, who the fuck knows? You know what I'm saying? Like, where did all the fucking original crew go? Except for that one body, where are they? Right? In hell, I guess. Right? And if the ship really did go to hell, right? Aren't there demons in hell and shit and whatnot and everything? So wouldn't it make sense that like some kind of demonic presence could take over the ship?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, them mentioning hell, definitely would consider to be. You would consider there being demons and all that kind of stuff.
Well, think about it. In the MCU, right? Like, you know,
let me
go ahead.
But at the same time, though, we're talking about a multiversal machine that can go to any universe.
That's my point. Yeah, right there.
So I don't think it's actual hell. I think this is some creature or some entity that's from another world that just happened to come on board and take over. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's actual hell, but
hell is being used as a euphemism. That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say too. Think of like the comics. Remember how we talked about how in the WandaVision when we reviewed it, how Mephisto isn't the devil. He's not. He doesn't exist in hell. He lives in the hell dimension, in the multiverse. It's not hell. It's a dimension that's like hell. Our version of hell in the Bible. That's what his dimension is like. It's similar to that, right? That's how Stan Lee and everybody at Marvel in the comics. That's how why they wanted Mephisto to be. They didn't want him to be the devil. They didn't want to play that game. They didn't want to go in that direction and be that straightforward. God, versus the devil type deal. They wanted to do it their own way. So that's how they did it. And so I think you're right 100%. They went to the multiverse basically. And they went to some dimension where it's like literally fucking the most evilest shit out there. Like, and there's entities there that are like so fucking like powerful that like human technology can be corrupted by their own by their demonic presence or whatever. But so we spiral kind of downhill from there. And they do a great job, I think, even with all the shit that got cut off. The pacing is still pretty decent. It's not terrible. It's at least like coherent. For the most part. So Coop says that he's got Lewis and Clark ready to rock and roll. They test everything and whatnot. They're still venting gas. So he says 20 minutes, we're out of here. Now Stark and Peter see the video. So all of a sudden the fucking actual video of the transmission pops up on the screen and they all see it. And that's what we see, what we talked about earlier being cyber. The fucking craziest shit I'd ever seen in my entire life at fucking 14 years old ever. As far as like 10 seconds of hell. Like just crazy. Like an orgy combined with like fucking the most craziest you've ever seen in your entire life. Violence and like fucking this, like everybody naked, killing each other, stabbing each other, fucking eating each other, eating themselves and shit and whatnot. Like it's insane. It's so fast you can't even tell what's even really fucking going on. But it's bad. It's obviously not good, right? So you can see why somebody would be like, don't come here. There you go. So, holy fuck, I even put the outline. Like, holy fuck, bruh. If I saw that, word for word, Cyber, if I saw that, I don't even know what I would do. I don't even know what my reaction would even be to that. I'd be like, bruh, what the fuck at this point? Seriously? Like, goddamn. Anyways, like my employer sent me here. Fuck. So Weir says we ain't leaving at this point. He's down for the cause. He ain't going nowhere. We ain't leaving. And Miller's says he's blowing up the fucking the horizon. He's like, fuck that, bruh. We're gonna go into Lewis and Clark, and I'm gonna shoot missiles in this bitch. This bitch is evil. This does not need to exist. I dug Captain fucking Miller at that point. I'm like, fuck yeah, baby. God bless you. Get in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Missile that motherfucker. I would too. You know what I mean? Nobody needs to have that shit playing around. What good is that going to do anybody? To have that just chilling. You know? I'd missile that bitch too. Plus it took out all his buddies too. You know what I'm saying? So we lose Peters now. Great death scene, right? The demonic presence uses the sun to get her to fall through a fucking hole and literally die falling on the core, right? And she plays it off great. Like she really pulls it off. Great job by her. So she's dead. Basically everything's going to shit. Weir finds Peters, and again, he shows humanity towards her. Peters, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, he's still like somewhat with it, right? Like, it's strange. You don't know what the fuck is going on here. Like, he's flip-flopping, right? 1 minute he's like full-blown saying these like, you know, insane shit like, we're not going anywhere. You know what I mean? The job's not done and all that shit, whatnot, right? At the same time, he's like almost crying seeing Peter's dead and shit. He just met her like 2 days ago. So whatever. Of course, he hears Claire again, the wife, which is like the consistent thing. The wife is used as the vehicle, basically, by the demon or whatever, whatnot, to possess him. And finally does it. Because like Claire, it turns out, committed suicide, which Weir watches her doing right in front of him visually. And again, it's so the way that they do it, you don't even see him emotionally respond, right? Like there is no response from him really, other than no, Claire. That's it. You just watched your wife kill herself, right? Like, it kind of, you know, the way they handled that didn't really work out that well for me. But that's what she crushes his fucking eyes in. So like this thing can actually tangibly touch you and shit and whatnot. Like it crushes his fucking eyes in. He didn't do it, or did he do it himself? I can't remember.
He's actually physically doing it himself, but it's
okay
from the possession.
Through the possession. Yes, he crushes his own fucking eyes in, and it's fucking intense. We go to Coop, who's done with repairs. Smitty sees Weir leaving the ship. It turns off. Weir sets off explosives in the Lewis and Clark, right? Disabling it, blowing it up, and whatnot. Kills Smitty, blows Coop off on some debris and shit and whatnot. But Coop like gets all fucking old school and shit and whatnot, and manages to blast off of it, head back to the ship, and come back. He's like, "I'm coming back, motherfucker." Coop gets, he gets blasted off in space. He's a cool motherfucker to be able to handle the way he did. So basically now Smitty's dead, right? Lewis and Clark is gone. Weir tossed to DJ and says, take Weir out if you see him. Well, Weir's right there, and Weir fucking kills DJ right there, and then makes artwork out of him, right? Like a la 7. You know what I'm saying? For Miller to find, right? Which again is too short. They don't show you what's going on there really enough to be able to even really tell. There's some like hieroglyphics almost, or like something written back there. You couldn't even really make it out. But again, Miller confronts. He's still seeing his flashbacks. Miller confronts Weir, who he's on a mission to take him out. Weir admits the ship is alive. Refers to it as she. He's been referring to it as she the whole movie, but now it's actually like correlating to the wife, right? And he wants to open the gateway to show Miller where the ship has been, because that's what Miller wanted to see, right? So now we know where the crew went, right? Wherever the fuck, it goes through the heart of the ship. So Miller has to go set off the explosives to basically, as we explained earlier, separate the ship into like where the ship part is separated from the core. And it can become like a life raft, like a hub to be able to still, get you where you got to go in an emergency situation. And we get sort of like an end conflict, where Weir takes on Miller, right? And if I remember correctly, there towards the end, Miller wins basically, right? He takes Weir out, and nobody really ends up alive at the end, right? But Coop, they lose Stark, right? When the ship blows up, don't they? Oh no, Stark survived. Okay, Stark survived. Coop survives, right? And we end up with Captain Miller in what's left of the Event Horizon, with Weir basically still on, right? I think, isn't he essentially on the core part?
No, if you're talking about the explosion that Miller puts up, Miller dies in it, along with
Weir. Okay, yeah. So it's Stark and Cooper that end up being able to be the ones that actually are still alive and get out of there.
Yeah, in the part of the Event Horizon that did not blow up.
Yeah, that Weir explained was like an escape measure, right? If anything ever happened, right, you could separate the ship into two.
Yep.
Yeah, so basically Miller takes him to the team, right? You know, and he was on a mission to take out Weir. That's what he was going to do. He said, Weir, you don't want to leave the ship. You're going to stay with the ship forever, right? And that's the end of the movie, basically, right there. So, unfortunately, back then there were no mid or post-credit scenes, so there's no more, like, crazy video from the fucking, like, translated message and shit to watch or anything. But Cyber, final thoughts, sir? I know it's a big section I threw at you there. You know, but give it to me, and we'll do ratings.
All right. So the end of this movie is probably my favorite part of this film, because this is when it gets really crazy. I am upset that they do kill off so many characters, which really sucks. I was sad about that, but I mean, the sequence where Kathleen Quinlan dies was phenomenal. I thought she was so good in this.
Me too.
And she did a great job of that sequence, chasing him. And just like what you mentioned prior, like when you hear these evil noises, you don't go chasing after them. And she goes chasing after an image she knows is not her real son. You're like, don't follow it. Don't follow it. You know, it was like, so she was so wrapped up in the emotion that she followed it. But she did a great job there, and like even after she falls and dies, that ending, like where she's dying there, it was really done well too.
You're
and
right.
Then, of course,
she killed that.
She did, and freaking Sam Neill Weir coming, seeing her dead, and like, oh my gosh, not what's her name? And I'm just kind of cracking up to myself, like, dude, you are so far possessed, you don't even really care. Weird,
for real,
And so it's kind of funny they have him do that, which I thought was kind of funny. But like when Lawrence Fishburne comes up with the idea of like blowing up the ship and everything, and Weir dips into the darkness. You just knew that was it. You're like, he's definitely now completely gone. He is not left anymore.
That's why I know why they even let him bounce back and forth anymore at that point.
And so it's like they try to do their thing, and he ends up killing Peter
DJ.
Smitty on the Clark and what was it? The expedition of the Clark and blah blah.
Cool.
What's the ship called?
Lewis and Clark.
Him sneaking in there, putting that bomb in that one section, and he finally finds it after freaking Miller tells him that he just slipped in there, and it's like he's like, oh, and he crap, and it blows up. And then when Cooper goes flying and he doesn't die, and he's in the middle of space in a piece of the Lewis and Clark, I'm like cracking up, going, how's this even possible? Like, and he's like, whoa, something like that. And I'm just like, what the hell is this?
It's kind of out of place, I know. Like,
it was like, what? Like, this is bad editing. I'm sorry, this is just bad editing. But at the same time, you're like, and he's like, I can do this. And he messes with his thruster, and he's able to thrust out to go back towards the.
That's why I was laughing when I was talking about it. Whatnot, everything.
I'm like, okay, all right, okay, sir. And after he doesn't die, and he makes his way back. But Miller is on the comm when the ship explodes, and he's like, no. And he feels bad. That's when he goes and he finds Jolie Richardson, and she's like knocked down on the floor. And this is at the point where DJ unfortunately gets killed. And you're just like, I was like, no, don't kill Jason Isaacs, no. And he gets torn open and like made it an art piece. I was like,
yeah.
Holy crap. I'm like, wow, too bad we didn't get more of that throughout.
I know. Why couldn't they widen that shot and given us another 10 seconds of that?
Yeah. I'm assuming that's probably the gore that people were talking about. Too much gore in it. Probably deal. But that was like freaking insane. Him cutting it open. And it was funny because when they cut some open, if you notice, he already has a scar there. So apparently he had some sort of surgery prior to that. And so I was like, oh, that sucks. And like it shows his face, and he coughs the blood when he opens them up, and I'm just like, Jason Isaac, no. And Miller finds him, and he's like, and then getting to where that is, which is the starboard of the ship, and we see him turn in that chair and his eyes are missing. He's like, where I'm going, we don't need eyes to see. And I'm just like, oh, I'm like, that, I don't know if I would want to see with not my eyes. That just doesn't seem right. I mean, because I feel the eyes are the seeing portion here. And
Yeah,
you're just
whatever place you go to where you're not having eyes and you can still see is probably not good.
yeah. But I thought the makeup work they did on him was really fantastic. Like it really looked real. It looked really good. And that conversation they have, where he's like, I'm going to show you where the event horizon's been and stuff like that. And you're just kind of like, no, I don't want to go there.
I'm telling you, you know what it is? It's a place where all the really ugliest chicks I've ever banged are there.
There you go. That's it. And and then that where they like basically he ends up shooting that gun and it blows it open and he goes flying out the door and stuff. You're just like, what? And like how he holds on to all the things and he's trying to stay in there and stuff, and he ends up go flying out and stuff like that, which was really cool. And like this whole sequence where Lawrence Fishburne is like trying to make his way out of there and then helping Jolie Richardson. He's like, I'm not leaving you, and he like keeps going, and he's able to pull her in and stuff like that before the door locks and everything, which was really cool. Thought that was a really great sequence there. And then Cooper popping up at the what do you call it after they have gotten through. He's like, don't shoot, and you're just kind of laughing like, dude, you should be dead, really, literally here, man.
Why are you even still in the movie?
Yeah, I'm like, you should have exploded with that ship. Like, I just don't get how you survived that, sir.
They cut out all the good shit to leave the coop fucking like, I'm coming back bullshit.
I guess so. And which was like interesting too at the same time, but like this final sequence of the movie where basically we get that kind of that big container that opens up and pours blood all into the area that when they're disconnecting that piece from the rest of the event horizon and stuff like that, and like you get kind of that final moments where they're like fighting and trying to figure out what to do. And Weird pops back up a bit finally at that point, and he's fighting with Miller, and Miller's like, he's like, that's okay, you're not going anywhere anyways. I just set some bombs off, whatever he says, and then it blows up the rest of the ship, and you're just like, and he's like, no.
Is it just me, or does Weird have like superpowers almost too once he becomes possessed? So he's throwing DJ around like he's a fucking ragdoll.
Yep. Most definitely, the whatever is possessing him is definitely giving him like superhuman abilities. Hence why after he gets blown out of the lock, he's able to come back.
Yeah, because he's tossing Miller around like a little fucking like it's nothing too.
Yeah. And, basically, Miller's setting off all those charges to blow up the rest of the horizon. You're like, at first you're like, yes. And at the same time, you're like, oh no, he had to sacrifice him. Like, oh man, I wanted Larry to survive. And, you're just kind of like, ugh. But at the same time, you're like, yes, finally you killed Weird. That evil dude's dead. And then basically, it going like, it basically going to black for a moment and then going, 46 days later or whatever, and that crew shows up to find them in cryostasis, and they let her out, and then the one guy opens it and it's Weird again. You're like, no way. And then all of a sudden it's like her having a hallucination. You're like, is it really over? And they've been saying it's her and Cooper. And I think that Justin guy was in one of those crisis stasis too, so I think he survived too. But I was like, you're kind of like, it kind of leaves you wondering, what's like, was there more to this than meets the eye? And guess what? The ending of this film is actually a mashup of two separate endings they had actually filmed, and they combined the two to make this ending. So there was a lot more to this. So if you had a hard time understanding the ending, that's the reason why. It's because they mashed two types of different endings together, which I thought was kind of stupid, because I guess apparently they had filmed one where Ware survived, and then they did one like the one we see in the movie which was supposed to be just like they all survived. But what they ended up doing is they hatchet jobbed it and they combined the two, having it where we have that kind of like, oh, fake, we're being there, but not really being there. And the other ending where, it's like a nightmare type of scenario. So overall,
it's a possibility that they may even wanted to try to make a second film.
possibly, yeah, most definitely. I mean, the story, could definitely create a sequel, especially with whatever this dimension is.
Oh yeah, the ship could have easily just like became back alive.
Yeah.
And like repaired itself, whatever, whatnot, and everything, and still be there for the next crew. You know damn well if they made this movie now, or they made this movie 10 years ago, right? 8 years ago, they definitely would make sequels off of that bitch.
Oh yeah. Definitely. I think also probably around that time they wouldn't have had problems with editing either, because there wouldn't be something mushing it to have to be done so quickly either. Because like you were saying earlier, Wes Anderson, not Paul W.S. Anderson, agreed to 6 weeks, but he actually only got 4 because he was shooting more material as he was editing at the same time. So it was only actually 4 weeks of editing. So that's unfortunately what you got in that 4-week period, was this hour and a half kind of jobble. But great ending. I absolutely love the ending. I forgot how well written this film was. It really is a great sci-fi film. I can see why it's great, gotten a cult following, because it really was good writing. There's definitely some flaws with it, but other than the flaws, it's still a really decent, solid film. And it was fun to watch it again. It was really enjoyable.
It is. When I saw it as a kid, I remember it blew me away. It really did. It scared the shit out of me, and it made me really think about stuff like that we talk about now. That like it's no big deal, but like the whole concept of different dimensions and everything and whatnot, and like all that stuff, right? That was deep for me at 14. So being 40 now, turning 41 tomorrow. I didn't realize, for one thing, how good Quinlan was in this film until now. Without question, I didn't grasp good acting versus bad acting. We talked about that before. I don't know if you could when you were 14, 13. I couldn't. Only if it was like overtly right there. I couldn't tell. I couldn't separate a really good performance out of multiple actors and actresses. I lost Cyberneticshark again. Jeez. Cyber. That Wi-Fi, baby. Telling you. Anyways, folks. So, no, let's finish my point. This movie, for me, it really, I'd already loved sci-fi and horror, and merging them the way that they did for the first time when I was a kid. There he is. Hey, Cyber.
Hello.
Oh, anyways.
It wasn't my Wi-Fi. I touched the camera to try to make it better, and it decided to disconnect itself.
Oh, I was just messing around with the Wi-Fi, man. What do you call it? What were you? What were you trying to do? Were you trying to refocus the camera?
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. I see.
I wiped it, and it all of a sudden decided I'm going to disconnect.
Do you actually? What do you do? Do you actually go into your Logitech Brio settings on the laptop?
Yeah.
I
go into the settings for this.
I never do that. What do you do it through the Logitech app?
No. It's just on the StreamYard.
Okay, I got you. All right. So no, I was going to say basically just that I didn't. One of the great parts about reviewing these films, folks, is that again, I didn't know about all this cutout footage and whatnot and everything. I just thought this when I was as a kid. I just thought this was a scary, fucking cool sci-fi film. That scared the fuck out of me. But I didn't know it was a cult classic. Honestly, I thought it was so great when I was a kid. I just assumed that it was a classic. Call me naive, you know what I mean? But I thought it was almost like a horror sci-fi classic. But I'm glad it has a cult following. That's really dope. I'm definitely going to give it a. I don't want to be biased, but I'm gonna give it a, regardless of the fucking whatever with the editing and whatever and whatnot, I'm still gonna give the movie a solid 8.5 because for whatever flaws it has, it's seriously entertaining, right? And the story is really cool. The concept of it, right? It really is. When you think about it, if you're capable of doing it, if you're capable of thinking about this concept of this film, there's some deep stuff there, right? There's even some religious stuff there if you really want to go, if you really want to get nitty gritty. There is some legit religious tones to this stuff, to the movie, which I wouldn't be surprised. However, you wouldn't either. I know probably got cut too. Some more of that, a lot of that probably I bet is what got left off, right? Would have been whatever overtones of God versus the devil. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you they probably played more into that in the stuff that got cut, right?
Most definitely.
The stuff that had more to do with the actual possession and the other dimension and all that stuff, the stuff that was gory. People couldn't handle it or whatever, whatnot, pussies. Shit. Shit's weak. I can't believe weak ass people back then couldn't even handle some gore. But what do you got? What's your rating?
I'm gonna give it a solid 8. And I give it a solid 8. I would give it a 10 if the editing wasn't so bad that it messed up the story. If that wasn't the case, otherwise this movie would be definitely a 10 because, like I said, that from the time to get to the event horizon itself and all the stuff that goes on, that was really entertaining, really enjoyable, and I really liked it. And I thought, Paul W.S. Anderson did a great job with this film with what he did wanted to provide. And I think that his true vision of the director's cut or the original version of the film was probably far superior than what he had to put out because of the time constraints, because of stupid Titanic. And I just want to throw it out there to everyone. A lot of people love Titanic. I absolutely hate that movie. I think it's the stupidest fucking movie ever.
I fell asleep in the theater twice. I went to see it twice with my girlfriend back in the day. I fell asleep both times.
And the only part of that movie I like is the last half of the film when the freaking ship sinks. That was my favorite part of the film because I thought the whole stupid romance love story thing was the stupidest thing that they could put into this movie when it took up an hour and a half of the runtime of this film to get to the sinking. That's what the Titanic's about.
All I know is the Titanic, the Titanic Celine Dion song was the theme of the prom that my ex-girlfriend's prom that year. So she wore the Titanic dress.
Yeah,
she looked fine as fuck in that bitch too. You know what I'm saying?
Song.
It was a really good song. To slow dance to whatnot, everything and whatnot. I love Celine Dion. I really do. You know how much I love female vocalists.
Yeah,
It's all my favorite. All the stuff I react to and whatnot and everything. It usually always has a female lead singer or it's all female or whatever and whatnot. I love female vocalists. I do. I love female vocals. I think they're great, especially when they harmonize and stuff like that. But anyways, folks, Cyberneticshark, sir, Mr. Matthew from Born to Watch podcast invited me to come on and review the Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers in January, and I'll talk to him if you want in. He'll obviously he won't care if you come over with me. He probably just assumed because he knows that I told him before a long time ago that I usually do all the guesting for us. That you'd probably be busy. I could talk to him and whatnot when I do talk to him about it, whatnot, to try to work out the time zones and try to see if I can work something out to where it still might be not a normal time recording time for us, but it would be us giving him doing him a solid and whatnot, everything for us to give us a chance to meet his mates and whatnot and everything. Which I've seen his show and seen his mates. They're good as people, bro.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely be down for that. I love the Two Towers.
Me too.
That's my favorite of the 3 original films.
It's a good movie. It probably is the best one out of the 3. I told Matthew when they reviewed it, I went to this comment session and told him, I'm like, damn, I'm like, why didn't you let us know you were going to review the fucking Lord of the Rings? Like, me and Simon fucking would love to review the goddamn Lord of the Rings. Like, we've bantered about fucking doing all 3 of them multiple times, right? Like, I think anybody who reviews movies, I would hope that like on your top 10 list, it would be the Lord of the Rings trilogy would be right there, right? Like it's got to be on your list. Who wouldn't want to review those films? They're classics. Those are classics. right? Those are classic films. So I'll talk to him and see what we can do for a recording time. It might just be one of them weird times. Unfortunately, folks, it sucks. One of the sucky parts about being a content creator like us is that some of our best friends in content creation that we love to record with live in different countries where the time difference is 12 hours. So it's like, you love them to death and whatnot, and everything and all that, but having to fucking stay up till 4 a.m. to record or whatever sometimes is not exactly the most positive thing, So it's about that. Cyber knows what I'm talking about with that. It's not fun to have to get up at 7 a.m. to record.
Yep.
Your energy's not exactly there at that point to really want to get into it. Let's do it, baby. Yeah, let's review this fucking 2.5 hour, 3 hour long movie right now. That the review's gonna be like 2 hours, 3 hours, right? But either way, folks, let's do plugs and get out of here. We appreciate all of you out there. This is our review of the Event Horizon. Me and Cyber have to talk. We got to figure out our schedule for movies for the rest of the month and going into the next month. You're due for your next film, so we'll come together and whatnot and everything and figure out which one you want to pick next. Did you already tell me that I didn't see it?
No, I don't think so.
No, all right.
I don't think we got up to December. I don't think.
No, that's okay. We'll figure it out. But Cyberneticshark, sir, let me pull up your YouTube channel real quick. I've already got it pulled up. I just got to share screen it. And I know you went and saw the new Hunger Games movie. How was it?
It was good. I was really impressed with it. It was interesting and well done. And I'm not a big Rachel Zegler fan, and thankfully she wasn't in too much, and so that didn't. But the whole story of learning about Snow himself was really awesome. So I appreciated that, getting to know him better.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you for telling me that, Cyber. You never know. I might go see it tomorrow or something.
So anyways, folks, if you enjoy me here on The Bleeding Edge, definitely go check out my solo content under Cyberneticshark. You can find me pretty much under that name under any of the social media platforms. YouTube is my main home. As you can see there, my most recent video up was the trailer reaction to The Fall Guy, which comes out next May. Ryan Gosling film, which looks freaking awesome, directed by David Leitch. So definitely check that out. As you can see, my latest little short was... what was it? Planes, Trains,
Automobiles, baby.
For Thanksgiving. So definitely, if you haven't seen that film, definitely check that out, people. My last couple there, of course, you saw my review of The Hunger Games, Ridiculous 6, Please Don't Destroy, a movie, which was really fun. Stuff like that. I just watched Good Burger 2 today, so I will have a mini short for that up soon and a review of that, which was a really fantastic film. And yeah, if you enjoy my content, definitely go subscribe. Let's get me to that 1,000 mark. Me and Andreas, who was not here tonight because I guess apparently he didn't like Event Horizon. And
who the fuck doesn't like Event Horizon?
And definitely let's get me up to that 1,000 mark.
Andres needs a break anyway. He does a lot of shows with us. We appreciate Andres a lot over here at the Edge Post. We bust his balls, but Andres, a pop culture guy, is a stand-up guy. You can say what you want about him, but when he says he's going to be there for the show, he's there, right? And if he's late or whatnot, everything, he feels bad. You know what I'm saying? He apologizes, whatnot, everything, right? You couldn't ask for a better, more decent guy. You know what I'm saying? More, to come on and guest with you and whatnot, and everything. Or creator standpoint than Andres. He's reliable. He's consistent. He just needs to get fucked up and get some pussy. That's all. You know what I'm saying? I guess in the time cop dimension, they've made those things illegal, possibly, but you never know. Cyberneticshark, sir, as always, sir, it was good to record with you. My friend, it's been a nice long tenure here at the Bleeding Edge. We had our best fiscal month last month ever on YouTube. So thank you to us, you supporters. Thank you for lining our pockets with these big checks, that YouTube is dropping on us left and right.
We haven't got any checks, sir, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm making fun. I'm just making fun. It's funny to me. I think it's interesting. People think when you get monetized, it means that you're automatically like banking on YouTube and whatnot. Everything. It don't work that way, folks. It ain't that simple.
Nope.
it's humbling to get monetized, but it doesn't mean all of a sudden you're rolling in the dough. But we did have a good month last month, and we had a good month this month, and we appreciate all of you for making that happen. We'll see you in the next one. We'll let you know what this review is going to be, but I can tell you that we have the Infinity War Part 2 that Cyber was gracious to let me moderate the second part on Wednesday this week, right? Andre Telcoach and I have WandaVision Episode 5 for a re-review on Monday coming up. That, we got Wednesday, we got Infinity War Part 2, and then we're doing Endgame, right? Which I think I'm going to suck it up, but I'm going to take the part of Endgame, like I said, so Cyber can grab Part 2. And we'll have, once we get, Cyber, we did already do Ant-Man and the Wasp, didn't we?
No.
Oh, we didn't. So we're going to do Ant-Man and the Wasp before we do Endgame.
Correct.
Okay. Well, all right. So we do Ant-Man and the Wasp on the Wednesday after Infinity War.
Yes.
There we go. It's all coming together, folks. All right. We'll see you later. We love you. We appreciate all of you. Peace.
Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume, turn it way up. Get your weapon, get your blade up. Damage, then you gon' pay up. Yo, crank that volume.